Morning. Today I'm going to be trying the Range Beauty BB Cream in the shade Sweet Tea. I had wanted to use the foundation sample I got from them in the shade Ignite, but it's really hard to get the samples out of the bottle, even though there seems to be plenty in there. Now, they're supposed to be about the same shade according to the website anyway, and I had bought the BB cream. See what happens. So I'm not gonna prime my face the way I normally would, because I did try the BB cream yesterday, and for some reason I could not get it to just go on my face right, and I don't know if it's just because of the consistency and maybe it just doesn't need a primer. But I'm going to conceal real quick, then we'll go ahead with the BB cream. I'm using the Amuse eyeshadow primer on the spots on my nose, and then I'm going to set that with the e.l.f. under eye powder. I know it's supposed to be for under your eyes, but it seems to work for keeping my primer in place to make my concealer last longer on my nose since I wear glasses. So my concealer I'm going to use is the NYX Gotcha Covered and shade Ebony. Oh, and I did moisturize my face already with grapeseed oil as I normally do. Okay, so for some reason that Gotcha Covered concealer was not doing it for me. So I used some red color corrector on top of it to hopefully mask the discolored spots a little bit better. And now I'm going to set my face with the RCMA No Color Powder, and I'll be back again. Okay, so if I remember correctly, the BB cream wasn't behaving with a brush or a sponge. So I'm gonna see if I can even get any results using my fingers. I hate using my fingers. You know what? I think maybe the problem with this wasn't the primer. I bet you it's the powder. It doesn't like the powder. This might be one of those ones where I need to put it on before I do my concealer, conceal what I need to afterwards, and then powder my face. I guess it kind of makes sense for BB cream to not want to work with a powder, because I don't think it's not what it's supposed to do. The BB cream is supposed to be like your skincare, which involves like hydrating, and powder's drying, so it's trying to counteract the dry. Can't tell if I'm streaky. Oh, I am. I gotta make this work. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I feel like the color is fairly decent, but the coverage, I mean, I know it's a BB cream, but there's not much coverage, and it took away the coverage I did have for my concealer. And that was really difficult to blend out. I probably got more dug into my skin on my hands than I do on my face, just to try and smooth things. Just doing a little bit more right here, because those spots usually don't even show up. They're that big of a deal, but they are with this. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but that's what we're going with. I'm going to throw some concealer on top. And for concealer, I'm using Revolution Beauty Conceal and Define in the shade C15. I don't even like the way this goes on with the BB cream, so maybe it's just the BB cream. I don't know, I feel like it looks cakey in spots already, and I don't even have that much on my face. But I really don't have time to take all that off and start over, so that's what we're going with. I'm going to highlight with Conceal and Define. I usually highlight with C12, but it is light. I tried 13 and that was wrong. This is 13.5, so this is deeper, but the undertone should work. This is going to be my first time trying out the 13.5. And if it doesn't work, I'm going back to 12 because 13 was not doing it for me. This smells exactly like my MAC foundation. It's not a bad smell, it's actually familiar, but it smells like my MAC. It's weird. I think this is a decent shade for highlight. I've got my little spongy deal here, and it's dry. Okay, at this point, I think I'm going to say that this BB cream and I are not friends. It does not behave with any of my regular stuff. I know it's not the Conceal and Define, even though I'm using a different shade, because I've used lots of different Conceal and Define shades. I haven't used 13.5 before, but I've used all 12 through 18, except for the halves. And they all behave the same way, so there's no reason why this one shouldn't. The only difference is my foundation, or the BB cream. I mean, that was just hard to blend out. I don't know. Not putting on my glasses to make sure it's not too streaky, but I think I've got everything smoothed. I hope I don't look too ridiculous. I'm going to set my highlight with my Ben Nye Pretty Pink powder. And even though I don't put any concealer down here all the time to highlight, I still like to put a little bit of powder there. And I'm not doing a cream contour today, but I'm still going to use my powder contour, which is the Ben Nye powder in the shade Ebony. I just adjusted the angle of my phone because it keeps trying to fall over. Not actually, I don't know if it looks better or worse, but I don't want it to fall over. And today I'm going to use my Hard Candy eyeshadow primer just because. I forgot if I don't use it for a while, it just gets all gross and separaty. And I just dropped the cap. I'm pretty much wearing just black today, which means I can get away with bright eye makeup. But let's start with a not so bright base. I got this new one from Coastal Scents called Harvest Brown. Oh yes, I finally got my palettes from, well, some of my palettes from Shop Miss A. So I put all of my browns and I guess bases and neutrals in there. And then I've got this one for my mattes. And then it also has my those are my Yabby colors. And not all these eyeshadows are Coastal Scents, but they're all about the same size. And then this one is where I keep my shimmers. So I just decided to use my old Z palette for my cheek colors, because I don't need a mirror for that, because I can use the big one for that. For my eyes, I needed palettes with mirrors on them so I can see easier. I know that was random and off topic, but I'm just really excited about my palettes. Oh, when I put on my base eyeshadows, I figured out my preference. Oh, my camera. I don't know where my camera fell. I don't know if y'all even saw any of that crap I was babbling about. Ugh. I don't know how much y'all missed, but basically I'm using Harvest Brown as a base for my eyeshadow. And I was just getting ready to say that I've decided that I like brushes that are shaped like this. It's got the slant, but it's also round. But I have another one that's kind of like this, but it's like flat. Not flat, but straight instead of like a rounded curve. This one works really good for base. Yeah, I have no idea when my camera fell over. So, highlighted, contoured, just did my eyeshadow base. I used the Hard Candy eyeshadow primer. I'm gonna use the shade Gunpowder for my crease. So that's my crease color. And in my Ulta order, I've got this Foil Play Cream Pigment in the shade Happy Hippie. Oh, this shade of green is fabulous. I'm hoping this works out well for me because I really like this shade. It's kind of like the green that I would make everything if I could, because it's like bright and shimmery. I've never used this before. How does that work? I thought it was a cream. Oh, okay, so there's a little seal thing on there. I don't know how this works. I thought I was just gonna dip in there. Oh, I remember when I read it. It's a cream, but it's a powder. Which is odd. So it comes out as a powder, but then when I put it on my eyes, it's gonna be a cream. Because yeah, that's definitely a powder. You can see that. Now, let's see what happens. Cream? No. That is not cream. And when I put it on my eye, the green seems to go away and just left with the yellow. But you know what? Sometimes these things... Let's see if I do this. That is not smooth. Not at all what I was expecting. So far, that's disappointing. I'm just gonna peek under the reducer and see if maybe it separated something. I'm going to lie for him, and he don't know who I am. I am not a fan of this pigment so far. It left a lot of fallout, which I just tried to brush off. And even though it doesn't want to stick to my eyes, it sure sticks to everywhere else. But one more thing. Let's see what happens when I wet my brush. And I wet my other shadows anyway, so I would hope that with something that claims to be a cream shadow, that a wet brush would do well. So, wet brush. I'm sorry, this doesn't even look green to me once I put it on. But now, I don't even know. Now it's doing what it's supposed to do on this side. Sorry about that, my alarm went off. Maybe I need to coat my brush more because I just tried again. I just pulled some of the leftover out of the reducer, and it seemed to do better on that eye, even though it's still not green, or the green I was expecting. I think I have to invest in eyeshadow shield when I use this. Okay, so fine. I guess that's what we're getting with that. It's not awful, but I am not that impressed right now. Now I'm gonna go back and clean up my crease. Even though I normally just brush off my fallout with a brush, it doesn't seem to be behaving with that, so I'm just using a makeup wipe. They're a little dried out, so I just wet it again. Let's see if I can pat off. No, I cannot. Okay, so basically it's just gonna look like I have a sparkly highlighter on today. Dude, whatever. So that's where that is. So I'm going back in with this flatter brush, wet, and I'm gonna see if that helps. Okay, so I wanted the line precise for the black down by my green eyeshadow, but then I don't want it to be as precise in my transition area, so I'm going with this little pointy brush. I got so much fallout, I look ridiculous. Whatever. So I'm going to take Python Green. It just kind of does like a nice little gradient thing, but I wanted that line to be more precise in between them. But apparently I can't do that, and every time I try to clean it up, I end up with more fallout on my face. So let's just leave that alone. I'm gonna brush off what's left of my bake. And now that fallout is not going anywhere. I don't know if you can see it, but up close, it just looks like I just put like a whole bunch of highlighter all over the center of my face. So for blush today, I'm gonna use the Clean Color Airy Minerals Loose Powder Blush in the shade Plum. I really like this blush. I really hate this container, as I keep saying every time, because not a very smart design. Just throw that on. This does not look the way I wanted it to. Use my Ben Nye powder and nutmeg for my whole face like I normally do. Okay, there's that. Traffic has been a bear, so I'm not dealing with anything for my lips. I'm just gonna put on some moisturizer and some eyeliner. And this is what we're going with today. I will try to check in later. Oh, I didn't set my face with the spray. Well, I'll do that in a moment. It's more important that I actually get something in my hair before I leave. My rose water and my highlighter. This is the Holographic Lights by Revolution Beauty, which is probably the wrong shade of green to be doing with my eyeshadow. Don't care. Or pretending like I don't care anyway. I'm gonna set my face with my Ulta setting spray. Okay, and that's it. I will check in later, but I need to turn off the camera because I gotta get dressed. We are at we're at about 13 and a half hours I was going to check in when I got home from work, but that was before I came home from work early. This whole day I've had a really awful headache. Then I was taking a nap in my car and we had a 4.8 earthquake. Yay, Alaska! So, anyway, I've taken a whole bunch of things to make my headache better, and I'm finally at a tolerable point where I can actually function. So I thought I would check in. So this is, 13 and a half hours. I did not use my setting powder today though. And this is also after being asleep for the past 5 or 6 hours because when I came home I had to lay down. So I don't know, I think this BB cream is doable. The only problem is, how hard it was to make it smooth out of my face. But I don't have too much oil breakthrough, and I did have some transfer, but I also didn't use my translucent setting powder, and I just, slapped some powder on top of things. And the only transfer I actually noticed was when I was cracking my neck. But, with a little blotting, I go back down to, fairly matte, and then this is what we've got for transfer. And I think things held up pretty well. My eyeshadow, though, was like pretty much completely gone. And I don't know, that was a really disappointing eye pigment. I'll try it again with some other eye primers and see if that makes a difference. But that was pretty disappointing first try for that one. So I do like the Range Beauty shade for the BB cream, which was Sweet Tea. So at some point I might go back and get the Range Beauty foundation in the shade Ignite. I just couldn't get the sample out of the bottle to use it for a full face. It was just too difficult. There's enough in there, I just can't get it out. And I think that is it for today. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.